We are back with more Barnstable this morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me live in studio, Town Manager Mark Ells. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you today?
Good. Another great weekend.
Another fantastic weekend.
Yeah.
Lots of beach, lots of biking, lots of family time. Good stuff.
It was very nice.
So let's start by going back to Friday, Unity
Sure.
Day on the Village Green. I was there for a little while. What a phenomenal turnout.
I was there as well, and absolutely. I mean, it's just you know, the group of people that came together to just celebrate all the wonderful things we do here in Barnstable. I can't thank them all enough. And those who contributed their time and effort, it just went off without a hitch. And beautiful afternoon, and you know, it sounded like we're going to be doing this, you know, annually, which
Great.
is wonderful. We look forward to that, and we have a lot to celebrate here in Barnstable.
We really do, and I love that all of the organizers took such a positive approach. I think that, you know, there's plenty of opportunity for kind of negativity and kind of rallies and kind of speaking out against violence, and I think that the way that this event was organized really to highlight all of the positives and bring everybody together is really exemplary.
Oh, absolutely. And what was nice for me, because, you know, a lot of the guys and gals I saw there, I see a lot through sports many times. And, you know, but I don't see everybody together. There's different groups of people because of the villages, because of the different sports, because of different ages, obviously. Everybody came together and had fun, and that was great. I certainly appreciated it. I appreciated seeing everybody together.
No doubt. So really looking forward to the next event. It was a great day. So a couple of meetings last week in regards to the homeless committee, or one last week, and there's going to be one this week. So tell me a little bit about how work is progressing there with that group.
Well, you know, for the immediate objectives that we've had, meaning the town of Barnstable has had through our primarily police department, very well. We went into this season hoping that we would end the camps that are out there, and hoping that we would help those homeless and near homeless in and around our downtown. We'd heard from our residents and our businesses, and we saw ourselves that there was a growing number of people that were in need. And so we came up with a plan last year through our police chief and his supporting staff. We implemented that, and I have not heard anything but positives about what we've done there. And you know, we still have camps in town. But we're dealing with those, and we're able to better coordinate now with the outreach workers from the different service agencies, so that we can get the people who need help the help they need. And some of the other issues kind of, you know, followed that core issue. So in focusing and being very targeted in what we did, I think we saw some huge gains relative to the concerns we had, you know, for the past several years. We haven't had them, or we haven't seen them. We're not getting the calls at our police department or fire department relative to you know, the camps, or, you know, some of the people out there who are in need. So that's a good thing. We haven't brought on an outreach coordinator yet. That would help to solidify this coordination between the services and the outreach workers, you know, that are being provided by the services. Many of these are, you know, Duffy and Hack and Vinfin and others that are out there just actively involved. Now, at the last subcommittee meeting, Rose Evans came down from the state, and she's kind of a point person all across the state, and she helps us with the state in making sure that the funding is directed where it needs to be, making sure that we're in coordination with all the various agencies that provide these services. We've got several asks to the state to help us as we move forward on this. And certainly looking at this coordinator's position that the town of Barnstable, with the help of the LaRusso Foundation, is looking to bring on, is going to be a key piece of this. But broader than that, you know, we've got the county involved, we've got the state involved, we've got all these different agencies involved, and then we have the town involved. So we have to make sure that we're all working together appropriately and in the same direction. And I think we are, and we're doing it better than we've done in the past. But we still have a ways to go.
Sure. So the coordinator position, obviously still looking for that candidate. Is it just that a qualified candidate hasn't yet stepped up? You haven't found the right person?
It's a confusing position, and perhaps we need to relook at what we're doing. It's a position that is not a town employee. It is a grant-funded position for an individual or an organization that can provide us a service. So the way the grants are typically administered, someone has a program somewhere and they get the money and they do their program. Or you have an employee of the town. This is neither of those, and I think it's confused people.
Indeed.
And so we haven't had the number of applicants. We have had some qualified. And they haven't been ruled out yet, and at this point we're able to go out and direct solicit to try to bring in somebody when we find that appropriate somebody or organization that can help us do this coordination.
Excellent. Well, certainly, an important issue and very complicated to solve, but nice to see the attention being paid. Let's talk a little, again, another complicated issue with the Hyannis water supply. There's going to be an appropriation before council in the not too distant future for some dollars in relation to that. So what's going on there with the Hyannis water supply?
Well, we're still in the midst of dealing with the advisory that was issued, and I'm sure your viewers have seen, as recent as this past Sunday in the Boston Globe, but over the last year, discussions about different sorts of, they call them emerging contaminants, but they are things that get introduced into the environment, sometimes through major sources, sometimes just through general household use and discharge. But more and more we're seeing the EPA and the DEP, and we've always been monitoring it, seeing the thresholds for at what point we're either in an advisory or these ultimately may get adopted as a drinking water standard, which they haven't been yet. But at the advisory level, we will see more and more and more of these contaminants being identified as something that if they show up in your water supply, that you need to do something. In this case, we have a significant point source of a particular contaminant that we found in actually 6 wells. 3 of them we've put carbon filters on. Those are the Mary Dunn wells. And so the appropriation that is going to be before council this Thursday would be a first read of us having to put a structure around these carbon filters. Just because in the wintertime, we didn't have to run them last winter, but we've gone from 3 wells to more wells being impacted by this. So we have to run these in the winter. To run them in the winter, we've got to put a structure around these carbon filters. So we're going in to ask for the money to put the structure around the carbon filters. But this kind of reactionary, as opposed to having a strategy long-term to address this, is less desirable. We want to go out there. I've already begun discussions with the state about relocation of the wells. We're going to do 2 things. We're going to look at the abutting large open space area that the state holds from our current water supply system, and upgradient of the of potential areas of concern, let's say, meaning really anything where there's development could be of concern, and then there's more and more specific areas that you want to look out for. So we're in discussions with the state about relocation of the wells. We would prefer to be able to do that, and a lot of people over the years have said, because we acquired this water company, it was a private water company, now it's a public division, it's a public entity under the Department of Public Works, but we acquired it to protect our public from, you know, a deteriorating infrastructure and water quality issues. You would think that it would be easier to do this, but it's not. This is a very complicated process. It's one that the regulations make time consuming, and rightfully so. You want to make sure you do this correctly, but so not only are we talking about land, but we're also talking about an expedited process so that we can, rather than invest in wells that are downgradient, let's say, an airport or a large commercial area or some other point source that we might be concerned of, let's spend the money relocating these in relatively close proximity to our system so we can connect in, and spend the money there long term. Because this issue isn't going away. Even if we deal with the issue at hand, the issue of emerging contaminants and the issue of thresholds for this being lowered and lowered and lowered, we can detect these chemicals at much lower levels than we could a decade or two ago. And we're more knowing of what we do in our environment and how it impacts us long term. So this is a complicated issue, but one that we want to manage. We want to have an immediate response plan, but we also want to have a long-range plan that you know, invests our ratepayer dollars, you know, most appropriately. And that's why we're looking at the relocation plan.
Great. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming by and joining us with that update. We appreciate it, and we'll check in with you again next Monday. Have a great week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Mark Ells, of course, our town manager.